Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Lost O'Clock with Confronting. This time we have a bit of a weird one. We're going to be playing through a game with the theme being the philosophy of choice. This is a game called the Stanley Parable, available on Steam, made in 2013, and I know nothing about it, but Confronting recommended that we play this, so we're just going to dive in, and then he's going to laugh at me or talk about stuff that happens. We're going to begin the game. Is never the end. The end is never. It's loading. I don't even know what genre of game this is.
I guess you could call it a choice simulator.
I will take a choice to hydrate myself before all these tough decisions. Who here in the chat has played this game? Press 3. We've almost loaded in. I'm currently making the choice to wait for the loading to complete. I'm suddenly realizing all the many choices that I have, such as flipping my desk over, smashing my microphone into the desk. Okay, we can.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
I can move around now.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Where is everyone?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong path. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the...
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
If I press any other key, then that it doesn't advance.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions, and down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again And then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
He's trying to reverse psychology, yes. I'm not falling for it. Go and check Instagram like a real employee. He's mind gaming me. He's trying to get me to do stuff, but then he's telling me not to do stuff. We're gonna be here all day. It's gonna be a long stream. I have tried other stuff. I've been hitting random buttons. You can't hit other keys to advance the plot or to make an argument. I denied every voiceover. Yeah, I don't like being told what to do by strangers. It makes me want to resist them.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Press 0 to question nothing. I have a lot of questions here. Who the hell is this guy? How did I get back in this office? What do I press to sit down in the chair? And how many voicemails are on this phone? How do I get out of this door? Well, I think E is interact, but I can't open this.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I...
So we're back where we started.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the
Did
meeting
I
room. Perhaps
fail?
he had simply missed a memo.
Well, did you make the right choices?
I don't know. It depends on what you mean is right.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
After you go through a door, you can't re-enter.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
I don't know if I can survive fall damage.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
So you're going down the same path as before, so what likely will happen is you having to do the same thing.
That's her, Stanley.
So instead of, well, too late.
Oh, was there a decision branch in that room that I didn't know?
Oh, Stanley, is
Yeah.
that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
I want to go this way.
I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now.
What a bastard. Shit. Oh, man.
This is a very sad story about the death
Get
of
on
a
with
man
it.
named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
So I guess there's already an interesting lesson here is in life, try not to do the same mistakes twice.
Yeah. So don't pick up the phone if I go that route.
Yeah.
But
The other option you have in there is unplugging the phone. But I'm giving you like spoilerish information every once in a while, so just to keep the game interesting and to make you aware of different choices you have, because yeah, this is not interesting for everyone to have you stuck in a room twice in a row.
yeah, this is like a slow death. Because you don't have any decisions left. You're just kind of playing out the
Yeah, but
consequences.
in a way, it's one of the most meta commentary there is in the game, where you're stuck on your computer pressing buttons, as Stanley is, but you as the player are as well. So it's a interesting ending, especially for a first choice. It kind of lays out the whole idea of the game in a sense. Where it's just you making decisions, pushing buttons, but being stuck in this rather boring environment. And this goes for the game as well as for you sitting at the computer.
How come you stopped talking?
Not sure, probably you're pressing too fast. You're also not switching room as you did last time. So it's basically, it acknowledges that you just want to get through this part.
Huh.
And it will basically let you leave. The other thing you can do is just go into the menu and restart, so you're back at the beginning.
Oh, okay. Begin the game again. Nice.
I could have mentioned that before.
Wanted to let me
All this
suffer
co-workers
for a
were
little bit,
gone.
that's fair.
What could it mean?
Nah, it just
Stanley
didn't come to
decided
mind.
go to the meeting room.
I'm unplugging
Perhaps
that
he had simply
motherfucking phone,
missed a
dude.
memo.
We're going right. We're going right. Fuck this guy. I don't like him.
When Stanley came to a set
He is
of two
manipulative.
open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps
Did
he
you
wanted to
enjoy
stop by
Fight
the
Club?
employee lounge first,
Yeah.
just to admire it.
Specifically, Edward Norton's
Standing now in
character.
this incredible room, Stanley
So they're
felt
basically the
quite
same
eager to get
person.
Back to business. Stanley took the
Like,
first.
the person whose voice you're neglected is the narrator, so it's basically they're the same.
Stanley was so bad
Although
at
different
following
voice.
directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've
there is
gotten
fall
off on the
damage in
wrong
this game.
foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly.
What the
Stanley
fuck?
walked through the red door. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Or choice.
I've unlocked an additional one. I'm conflicted because I like that I unlocked a new door, but I also don't like doing what he's telling me to do. But it's orange on the inside. And it's
I think if you go through the others, you'll just
It'll be the
go
same
back
thing.
to the usual way. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Please rate your experience.
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Does it mean 2 seconds?
Only the worst 3% of players choose the blue door. How long does it take you to get the correct door?
It says I'm the lowest ranked player of all time.
Well, have you
This
ever
board
chosen
is
the
just
right
talking
door?
shit to me. Saying you have no friends. 21.3 skipped the intro sequence. Worst 3% chose a blue door.
You're doing worse at the game than a dead rat.
He's trying to berate me into doing...
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest
No,
answers,
fuck you.
please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? If it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Well, Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with. But is it enough? Tell me that, Stanley. Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house. This will go here. No, here. And then... Let's see, what does it need? Yes, of course. And just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy. But you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable.
He's gonna kill me. I will die in here, but I can't go anywhere else.
Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining. Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light? Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
I heard something growling.
Don't know what that was.
He was
yeah,
hesitant
you-
to descend. Yeah, I died of fall damage earlier.
Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell this is.
Looks like Portal or something.
Yeah, it's the beginning to Portal 2.
Oh, it's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte. Genius. No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through any more of these games, and I highly doubt you're any wiser for the experience. Which is why, rather than continue to waste my time, I'm just going to leave you here. You can pretend you've beaten the game if it makes it...
Have a flashlight.
No. So you believe you made the right choices this time?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Another interesting side of another interesting insight into
Already
the
this
whole
was
world we're in.
And Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Another side effect of what?
Yeah, just didn't want to talk over the narrator. So what he's commenting on here is that since this whole place is devoid of other people or things to interact with, the only thing that makes sense of it is the voiceover lines. Mm-hmm. So without him telling you what to do, and you either doing it or not doing it, the game is just empty.
Instead of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Did the environment change with the papers on the floor?
Yeah.
Oh.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach. Giddy but eager to get back to business,
Tasteless, thank you for the raid,
Stanley
welcome.
took the first open door on his left.
We're doing the philosophy of choice right now. We're playing the Stanley Parable. It's the first time I've played this game. I've been playing it for 38 minutes.
Stanley was so bad at following directions.
And this narrator guy keeps trying to tell my character what to do, and maybe it's just a personality thing, but I really like
Stanley,
not
I
doing
think
what he
perhaps
tells
we've
me to
gotten
do.
off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else
interested to
is
see
difficult,
what
but
the
the fact is that the story
ratio
has
is
been
of
about
players who
nothing
choose
but
the left
you
door or the right
all
door for
this
the first
time.
one, like on their
There's
first
someone you've been
instinct. Do you remember what you
neglecting,
chose?
Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every
I don't. I've
decision
played
by
this so many
yourself.
times, showing it to
Not
so many
asking
people.
me.
But I think I chose the door on the
This
left,
is it, Stanley.
just
Your
to see
chance to
what
redeem
this would
yourself.
imply, and then there's
Put your
still a lot of
aside
branching paths
to
from
let
there,
her
so
back into your life.
don't have to
She's been
always
waiting.
follow what he says. But defying him on the first turn is kind of rude, I
That's
thought.
her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. Oh, no, you can't. Did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please. Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying.
What?
Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story.
There's a fence
that
around it
story
now.
would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Ah, the
Almost
employee
there.
loss.
You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
I'm learning a lot about myself in this game. Oh, look at this filing cabinet. Oh, man. So I don't have a choice now.
So there's always a third door.
There's always a third door?
Yeah.
Oh, so can I try to open some of these?
No. There's more of a figurative third door. But we'll explore that later on. For now, you have to go through the left door.
Oh.
Or be stuck here.
Stuck here forever.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to. I'm still here in this pile of rubbish, with you who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry. His behavior. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Is this supposed to happen?
I'm not sure.
I feel like I won.
You kinda did, yeah.
It might be borked. All right, speedrun Stanley Principle, 49 minutes. I won. Successfully broke the game. Do I have to start it over if it's stuck? I'm trying to turn right now. I can still hear the sound of the room. If I press E, nothing happens, which is the normal interact button.
Maybe try to walk through the door on the left or the right. I'm not sure. I don't think this ever happened to me.
Chat thinks it's supposed to be like that?
Let me check.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry.
All right, so you
Behave
picked the
exactly
wrong
as
door
Stanley
again.
would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly
Okay, I
and
think that
always putting
it's
the
basically
story
just
first.
stuck.
I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right.
I'll fucking
When
do it again.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, so
So this teaches us by always doing the same choice, we'll be stuck in a loop eventually.
yes, so I will go left this time, but let it be known that I don't want to do what this guy tells me to. For the record.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
This is some good advice right there. You most of all.
Please. Boss appreciation spreadsheet. Circle the top 20 things you love most about your boss.
The boat.
Metamorphosis. Less air, comatose? Resent coworkers for not supporting you more. Let it ball up inside you. Take it out passive aggressively on other coworkers. This is what happens. Said you're supposed to let someone out of the broom closet in another room. But I don't know how I can open that.
It's open on the usual
Stanley
path.
walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
The code.
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall. I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise, we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step. Okay, fine, you're not gonna do it, but you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important.
I won?
The story
Or I reached an ending?
To make a decision. It cannot
You reached an ending. There's an ending where you actually
The
win.
choice you make is just fine. They're both correct.
So no, you haven't won just
We can
yet.
work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
So now we're in the third-person perspective looking at Stanley, and him not making a choice gets you stuck.
Already,
So
this
how do
was
you feel
unfair.
about the game so far?
And Stanley decided that as soon as he found
It's
a new space he
interesting.
felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in
The
his
voice
life.
actor is very good. I think his ability to make me dislike him and want to
When
disobey
Stanley came to a set of 2
is
open
to
doors,
the credit of
he entered
his
the
like,
door on his
acting
left.
ability. And so we've gone right a bunch of times, and we've learned that we can warp reality with it, and it messes up his world and so on. But I would guess if we go left, we have other opportunities to disobey and to break stuff later down the line.
There's like 20 different branches, I think, more or less. So yeah, you can make right or wrong choices. You can follow your heart's desire on where you want to go. Just know that whenever you go the same path twice, it will likely end in the same scenario.
Chat saying I've slowed down disobeying? What does that mean?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he
You're
wanted to
not
stop
as
the
defiant as you were in the
first,
beginning.
Just to admire
I would
it.
agree with that statement.
The lounge was
Yeah,
grand,
sometimes defiance
majestic,
isn't as obvious
perhaps
either.
too, but eager to get back to business.
Because,
Stanley
like,
took
the
first
unplugging the
open
phone
door on
one?
his left.
That takes some creative defiance.
Yeah, I don't think I came up with that one on myself.
Stanley
It's
was
one of
so
the
bad
endings
at
I had to
following
look up.
directions. It's incredible he
Oh, you
wasn't
didn't get the
5
ending that
years
you
ago.
just saw with me?
I saw all of them at one
Stanley,
point,
I think
unless
perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot
the
here.
one you did
I'm
with
not
the
sure
baby
it's
game.
really
Uh-huh.
hard. I
You
realize
can
that
play
investing
that
your
actually
trust in
for
someone
the
else is
4
difficult.
hours he
But the
suggests
fact
to
is
tell
that
you
the
about
story
all
has been
the
about
pains
nothing
of
but
parenthood,
you all this time.
and that unlocks a different
Someone
ending,
you've been
but that's
neglecting.
just too tedious for me.
Someone you've
Oh, yeah.
forgotten about.
I can see that.
What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want
The
to help
red door,
you,
blue
to show
door
you
one was so
something
funny.
Beautiful. Look, let me prove it.
I love this.
Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully. This is important.
This
Stanley
almost feels
walked
like a
through the
scary
red
game,
door.
in a way. Because it really
Perhaps
takes
you
a lot of
misunderstood.
control
Stanley walked through the red
of your
door.
character and reduces it
I still
to a
don't
very
think we're
small number of
communicating
options.
properly. Stanley
Now you're
walked.
going to
All right, fine,
go
go
the
ahead,
same path
Stanley.
again.
You want to know so
Yes, I
badly
wanna
what's
see
out
if
there?
I
You want to find
missed
out
any
what lies at
opportunities
the end
for
of this
defiance
road you've
before I
chosen?
try
Well,
the
don't let me
obedient
stop
route.
you. You see?
I
There's nothing here.
think
I haven't
not.
even finished building this section of the map because you're
Maybe
supposed to be here in the
you'll get
first
turned
place.
back to the room choice with the third door,
Textures.
and then you
Is this
can
what
go a
you
different
wanted?
path again.
Was it worth
Ah, yeah,
ruining
yeah.
the entire story I had written out specifically
Yeah,
for you?
because I wanted to see what the
Do you not
orange
think
room
I
and
put a lot
stuff
of
was
time
about.
into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design.
I wonder if the devs have stats on how many people disobey it first.
We go.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that.
Option. This already feels leaps ahead of where
I'll
we
go in the
were
left door
before.
now.
Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical
Yeah, I think we're just
feedback.
going down the same path now. There's no more branching from here.
Unless I pick a different number, because I picked 1 and I picked 5.
The numbers don't make any difference. The only choice you have left here is to rescue the baby for 4 hours. Which, if that's what you want to do, it'd be not as interesting.
I'm not going to do the 4-hour thing. I'm curious about the 3, though, because I gave it a 1 and a 5, which were the extremes. And he's looking for feedback, so if I give him the middle of the road, he might respond differently?
Yeah, that he will.
Oh, of course. A 3. Really?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
next time
defiant.
we can get you to form an actual opinion.
Aha!
You know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings? Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes? Wonderful. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
So you're still
Now,
ranked lowest
would you say
because
that
you've never chosen the right door.
helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Would he give me the same response if I put 3? Because this is the same situation, but I got here from a different door.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some play testing. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game,
Okay, so this is
the baby
the same.
crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
That sounds horrid. Oh, God.
You heartless bastard.
He'll call you a heartless
Because you're
bastard if you
babies
do
or
this for
purely to
3.5
spite me?
hours, but don't make
Because
it
if
through
it's
the
latter,
4
I don't
hours.
know what to do. I'm completely
Yeah.
out of ideas. I can't think of a
Wow.
single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
I
Well,
think I'm in a
is this any
loop that I've
better?
been in before from
At
here.
last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely
So I
nothing
don't
to
know
do.
all the achievements in the game, but I know of 2. One of them is this is an achievement
Well, I'll say
which you
this.
unlock by unlocking the achievements.
From
So
now
basically
on, I
telling
will
you
create
that
to fulfill a greater artistic
it doesn't
purpose.
need much to
Watch this,
achieve
Stanley.
things.
I'm
And
to
the other
build
one,
a
which is
house.
really insightful, is go out and play. And you get it for having the game installed but not playing it for 5 years.
Here. And then... Let's see, what does it need? Yes, of course. And just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made
Marvelous.
it, Stanley. Look at it.
I wonder if I can
Gaze
die to
upon my
the
work
thing that
of
was
art
growling at
and
me
feel
in the
ashamed at
cave.
your own inadequacy.
I don't think so.
But you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable.
Okay, people said I wasn't as defiant as I could have been. Can I defy this order when he says step inside? Achievement unlocked, you can't jump. Wow, I have achieved the inability to jump by hitting spacebar.
No, you have gained the knowledge that you can't jump.
That's great to know. I can't disobey this, I don't think. I moved fast in the office.
Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes, yes, yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining.
There's one other game by the same developer. It's called The Beginner's Guide. And it's similar types of weird, but very different.
Oh my.
But also definitely worth
It's
seeing.
going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light? Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
You heard the growling? I think I ran out of time.
Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Ooh.
What you might be able to do, I've never tried this, is to get killed by the box when it falls down, as the sign would suggest.
There's an idea.
Stand underneath the box thingy.
It's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte.
No, doesn't work, apparently.
It does warn me again here. Oh wait, no, it just dropped, but it didn't kill me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Genius.
Genius.
No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through anymore.
Yeah, it's really trippy that they let you kind of like see through the other side of the game, or like what a scuffed development game would look like before they polish everything. So it's got some Truman Show vibes to it, where the whole reality is set up for you, but then you're kind of self-aware of that. So we've got 2 hallways here, but he's not telling me if one way is better than the other.
Well, that's an interesting moral statement, whether one way is better than the other. I think we can only judge it once we've walked down that path. So will never know what the other choice would have implied.
If I can
in,
give an
not in normal life.
If I can give an analogy, this area here is sort of like choosing what your university major is going to be in. Where you know so little about what the actual work is going to be for any profession, or how difficult it's going to be, or what things you're going to like or dislike about it. You only know kind of what it's called and what the like general aspect of it is. But I guess real life is more like having the narrator of your shoulder, where your parents are the narrator and they're telling you be an engineer, be a lawyer, like whatever they think that you should be.
Yeah.
I thought the deluxe version was a bit meh, it got too meta. Can it get more meta than this?
Yes, it can.
Oh.
I think the deluxe version is aimed at people that really enjoyed the original game and wanted to just listen to the narrator go on about weird things even more.
Uh-huh.
And it really plays into that and just gives you other weird choices where you're teaming up with a bucket for
If what he
a
wanted
lot of
was to
it.
be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Will there be a lot of this? Yes. This will be on YouTube, Sam.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh. I just turned that computer off. Oh, I turned that one off. But I can't turn it back on. Does anyone else think the game
Stanley
is too
went
loud and my
around
voice
touching
isn't high
every
enough?
little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
I could be a little louder. Okay, I can turn it down a touch. Better? You're not sure you can do this again and
When
again.
Stanley came to a set
You
of
going
two
crazy?
open doors, he entered the door on his left.
All right. Let it be known that I want to be defined with this guy, but I want to see more of the game, so we're going this way.
So it took you like
Yet
an hour
there
into
was
the
not
game
a
to make the
single
correct
person
choice?
there either. Feeling a wave of disbelief,
like correct is very
Stanley
subjective
decided to
there.
go up to his boss's
Oh shit, the broom
office,
closet
hoping
opened.
he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Will he yell
It's
at me?
worth staying in here for a while.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Fuck all is what he means?
Yeah.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Does it sound better,
Stanley was
Floppy?
fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
What? That's so mean.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
We defiantly stand in the broom closet. This does, the thing that I'm thinking about with this is drinking age and how a lot of binge drinking countries have a later drinking age, and it adds a transgression level of excitement for the experience of drinking, which gives people a rush that you wouldn't get if it was allowed. So I get a little bit of a rush playing this game whenever I don't do what he tells me to do, because the transgression is exciting. And you want to see what happens. And when he gets mad, that just makes me want to do it more. Which is weird, because I was a fairly compliant child. I think relative to a lot of people.
Second player, it's good to have you on board. I guarantee coming to a
Second player, it's good to have
Stanley
you on
walked
board.
upstairs to his boss's office.
Oh, so you can defy on the left door as well. Yeah, I was pretty compliant. When my parents said to do stuff, I would just do stuff because I respected their authority. But this guy hasn't established himself as an authority for me.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. he just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. But I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Was that an ending?
Yep.
Oh, so we got another ending. Nice. Samuel, thank you for the raid. Welcome. We're doing the philosophy of choice, playing the Stanley principle. I've played through a few defiant routes where there's this narrator talking about what this character is and what they did, but you have
All of his
doors
co-workers were gone.
that you can go
What could it
through, and you
mean?
can
Stanley decided to go to
choose
the meeting
differently.
room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
I thought I turned all those off last time. Look at the watch. The clock. Yeah, it's still going. So that one was, we started out obedient, and then we took a defiant route, and then Stanley died.
Yeah, Stanley went insane
When
on
Stanley
noticing
came to a
that
set of
his
2 open
path is
doors, he
directed
entered
by
the
a voice
door
in his
on
head.
left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he might find an out. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Is the game still loud for people? Well, the office looks
Stepping
different.
into
this
his
one.
manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
We're taking the obedient route this time, seeing what happens.
I think you'd still be defiant.
Stanley
You think I'll
realized
still be
he felt
defiant?
a bit peculiar.
Yeah.
It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt.
Don't think you have the guts to follow all his
to
instructions.
question the nature of his
You're messing with
Why
me
did he
now.
feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him. This question would not go unanswered for long.
Interesting. I actually don't know if you're messing with me or if it's going to
Stanley
be like...
walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Oh, what? The mind control facility or escape? He's calling my bluff. I am Stanley. I follow orders. I love orders.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
This is a scary game.
This mind control facility
fired.
was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Because we don't know what's on the other hand.
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Because we don't know what's on the other hand, it's inherently scary to choose.
Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
What was this 5 button?
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Achievement unlocked, beat the game. We beat the game!
You finally did what you were told to do.
But it started again. Interesting. So the most obedient route gets you to the end the fastest.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the
But
meeting
you've got all
room.
these
Perhaps
different
he had
branches
simply
that you
missed a
can
memo.
take. I wonder what happens if you hit the mind control
When
on.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Do you remember the code? In the office?
Yet there was not a single
2845?
person here either.
Yeah.
Feeling
Try to
relieved
be
at this
faster
point,
pressing it.
Stanley decided to go up
Before
to
he
the
tells you
boss's
to.
office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Executive bathroom? Oh. Extreme bathrooms.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What? Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
What the fuck? Why is the ceiling of this office room so tall?
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore
two
the
people
number of
fired.
an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals.
Have you tried
reduced to
Madison? Is that a
images on
game?
screen. And
No.
Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time?
Oh,
Was
yeah,
this the
I'm
only reason he
47.
was happy with his boring job?
So
that
it'll be
his
over there.
emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Yeah, that one.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Seems like a cool concept. System power. Okay, so we're flipping it on this time. Evil arc.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Yeah. Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away.
2845?
You're only still playing instead of watching.
I can't get an 8
because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble.
2.
This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
Goodbye, employee 247. Well, that's an ending.
Yeah.
All of his co-workers were...
So I will have to leave you to it in a bit from now. So I'll just gonna direct you towards one ending, and then I'll kind of summarize what we supposedly learned about the philosophy of choice in this game. Take the door to the left and go the escape route.
Okay. How do you hit 2845 if there's no 8?
Not a single person here either.
he comments on it. There's nothing you can do. You just it gives you the illusion of being able to do something.
To his boss's office.
Make him
Okay,
play
I think
the
we
new
all
age
know the
music
drill by
again.
now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Quelle surprise.
Oh, he just opened it this time. He figured out that I was rushing it. What game are you playing? No, I'm being played by a game.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Making fun of people who like shooters. Larger words. The lounge. When was this made? It's nuts. 2013. I feel like a game like this isn't really graphics dependent. So it ages fine. Made me laugh multiple times. Very interesting. Definitely very meta commentary on games and sort of like some of the futility of choice in some ways. But also that some choices will get you killed. Escape menu. Glad to have seen the stream. Yeah, really awesome recommendation by Eche Fatum. I never would have played this. This is well outside of the types of games I normally would have browsed.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No. Perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time
So you have decided not to decide and have let time choose for you. This is what I mentioned when I said there's always a third door, and the third door is you literally quitting out of the game. It's the only path where there's no where the story is not already written. Where you can make up your own story and make your own choices.
That's why you get the achievement for not playing this for 5 years?
Yeah.
Is it just black screen now indefinitely because I'm dead?
Yes. Yeah. Now you have to restart or quit out of the game. These are your two choices.
It's making you think, oh, don't touch anything. Yeah, but even then, like, because I didn't touch anything, I got splat. It's interesting, too, because I'm seeing the different advantages and disadvantages of doing what you're told versus going off the beaten path, and how everyone's life is a mixture of those things. Because if you go full renegade, you're basically out in the woods trying to subsist off of the land. If you refuse everything that society like sets up for you in terms of rules and structure and order, which is really hard, and you will die earlier than if you follow some rules. But then the rules that you break can really be defining for you. Basically, everyone has their profile, like their alignment of how rule-abiding or rule-resistant they are. And you have the advantages and disadvantages at every turn of which way you choose. Choice is hard. I would say that there's a brain science concept that is being talked about more called deciding potential, which is a way of expanding upon the idea of free will. Free will is sort of on and off in terms of how people talk about it, of either you have free will and you can choose, or you don't and it's determined ahead of time. Whereas deciding potential talks about the number of options you have and the likelihood of you choosing different options based on how safe those options are for you, and then using the example of this game, how obvious the options are for you. Because some of the options I just missed because I didn't know that that was a thing. Like, you wouldn't necessarily know that you could open the broom closet because a lot of the other doors wouldn't open. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. This game says a lot about life for being
It does.
fairly simple.
Yeah, I think it emphasizes the importance of choice and making them consciously, and we never know what's on the other end of a choice, but if we take it and I think we think about it first, we take one decision over another and then see how it unfolds. But by making it consciously, we can feel good about a decision if we made it and it turns out to be good. And we can also feel bad about a decision if it turns out to be bad, but then learn from that experience. But if we're not taking the decision, if we just let time choose for us, we never be in that position of power.
Mm-hmm. Inaction is also a choice with consequences.
Yeah.
You should go back to the broom closet. That was a pretty funny one. I like the broom closet. I like whenever you first get on the lift thing, when he doesn't expect you to go that way, and when you jump off. That was pretty cool. You get a technical move. Does your character have feet normally? Or did I only look down and notice that when he pointed out that you can't see your feet when you look down?
I don't think you ever have feet.
Okay.
Only when you see yourself in the third person perspective.
Uh-huh.
So I dropped you the kind of mapped out paths you can go in case you want to explore some more. There's some really fun ones that you still have missed.
Uh-huh.
And I also dropped you a 6-minute video that was kind of response of the game maker and the narrator to an email they received. And I think this should be super fun for people that have played the game before, so they kind of already knew all the things you could do or could not do, but have never seen this, because it shows a world where you have even more choice than what is originally given, and it's just super funny. So this is kind of a nice way to end out the Stanley Parable.
Sweet.
And yeah, I think that the kind of thing I wanted to talk about, and we didn't talk much because I think that the game is pretty self-explanatory, not in the sense of just the narrator talking, but what the themes are and how we experience choice and take decisions or not take them, and then feel bad or good about them in hindsight. It's just a very interesting mental exercise to look at this from a third person perspective and see it's decision making, and it will make a difference. And if we choose, it will go someplace. And if we not choose, it will also. But just re-emphasizing the power you have by making decisions in everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And also telling you to stop listening to your computer and not just following the orders of pushing buttons all day, but rather to go out and play, I think is a really nice sentiment. Because the real decisions happen in real life. They do not happen in video games.
True, and this is also making me think about time and choice and how we have limited time to exist. And as time passes, it's basically like turns that we have. Every day we have a certain number of turns. We have meal choices, we have sleep or staying awake choices, we have what we want to invest our skills into or our leisure into. Yeah, there's a lot to factor into all of this, and then how you can either entrench yourself in a position and kind of fight for stability and try to make that more like Stanley, where everything is routine and it's really repetitive, or you can try to add variety and how everyone has to find that balance for themselves of how much variety do I want in my experience versus how much repetition and routine do I want. And that's a very personal question because people have very different preferences for that. Well, awesome. This was really a fun experience. Normally for our Philosoclock, it's more kind of lecture oriented where you've got a philosopher and kind of what they brought to the table in terms of the history of philosophy, whereas this one was more of an interactive, just throw me at a game with a bunch of choices and see how I play it out. I definitely ended up leaning more on the defiant route based on how the narrator was talking to me. I kind of wonder if I would be as defiant if the narrator was different in their tone and their personality. Part of the reason I wanted to defy this guy was he reminded me of the news anchor in V for Vendetta. So V for Vendetta is like very propaganda oriented, where they've got the dictator and stuff, and then there's the mouthpiece of that who's on the news and he's telling people how to think about stuff. This guy's voice and his cadence reminded me a lot of that, which made me feel like he's a bad guy and I don't want to do what he tells me to do. But if it was a really nice sounding voice of someone who seemed really trustworthy, it might have gotten me a little bit better to take the left path.
Have you played, what was that game called? Where you're in this shooter, where you're in this underwater facility?
BioShock?
Yeah.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah, so this goes into the same notion where he constantly tells you to kindly do something for him.
Mm-hmm.
And basically taking your choice away from you, but you're doing it for him. It's also, it kind of comments on the same thing in a bit more violent way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a good experience in that regard.
Yeah, the narrator in this game was antagonizing, I agree. Yeah, he straight up like bashes you and ad hominem attacks you. It was pretty alarming.
Well, Stanley is so lazy and bad at making decisions. What else is there to do for the narrator?
Now you sound like the narrator. He's been playing too much Stanley Parable.
No,
well,
I
cool.
think they had a lot of fun recording those voice lines.
Oh, of course. It's great voice acting. I give him a 10 out of 10. I think it's kind of like acting in general where a bad character for you to have a reaction where you really dislike them and you really want them to fail and you want to fight against them, like that's credit to their acting ability. He definitely did that. I was like, fuck this guy. I said that multiple times. I'm not going to do that. He says go left, I'm going right every time. I'll go right for over an hour just to spite him.
Yeah, but he did tell you there was something beautiful if you just follow his directions, and he wasn't wrong about that. So the story he was trying to tell you was one of liberating yourself from being mind controlled and to see the beautiful outside.
Mm-hmm. Someone in the chat was
So-
saying something about step forward. Whenever you turn the system off and the door opens up, and then he says step forward. If you don't, is that another ending?
I'm not sure if something happens. Probably just the game being stuck, basically nothing happening. But it's interesting that he says Stanley is finally free. Now step forward.
Nice, which is kind of a contradiction at the end there.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We can watch this video now. I don't know if you're needing to go soon or whatnot.
I'll be dropping out, making some lunch, and getting ready to drive to Portugal.
Oh, you're
Get some
driving
surfing
back.
in.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you helping us with this quest of choice. This was a game that made me feel a lot of different ways. But I had a good time. Looks like the chat had a good time too. Shout out to Dabulus for giving some big support. Let us watch this video now. The Raphael trailer for the Stanley Parable.
All right, I'll hop off already and enjoy the rest of your stream.
Nice. Enjoy your surfing and your lunch, sir. In reverse order.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. No more Stanley. We're watching this video thing.
I recently received an email from a man named Raphael, who writes, I just played your game, and I'd like to say it was the most annoying thing I ever played. It had its cool moments, but overall the experience was only of annoyance. The problem is that it does not touch the heart of people. It's a very emotionless game. Did you ask any girls to try out your game? I ask because they are blissfully less logical than us guys. I am very logical myself, but also very emotional. So it was easy for me to find the game annoying. What happened is that your game frustrated me. I felt like I was being taken into someone else's hallways, doors and plans to deliver me an experience that didn't touch me. And worst of all, I had absolutely no free will in the game. No way to change anything, no impact, no power. I accomplished nothing. People play games because of what they can do inside them, and your game is very good at letting them know they can't do anything. Other things I didn't like were the amount of narrator dialogue too much, and that Stanley is repeated all the time by the narrator. Overall, your game is on a good path, I think. Good luck with it, and best regards, Raphael. You know, Raphael, at first, your negative response to the game devastated me. After all, I managed to squeeze so many emotions into the first game. How could a logical yet emotional person like yourself have been disappointed? But then I realized that much to the contrary, your emotional standard is simply much higher than a normal human being's. So I've come to think of you as a mentor, an emotional beacon toward which I might sail my wayward narrative ship. That's why I've discarded the Stanley Parable as it previously existed and rebuilt it from the ground up to capture not just many emotions, but all emotions. And I think few would disagree that it's a significant step up. Why don't I take you on a little demo walkthrough? This is the story of a love samurai named Stanley. In this new version, you play the ghost of a dream of a memory of a cyborg warrior trying to find his dead wife inside a poem. The game's central feature, emotion booths. Stepping into any one of these booths will cause the player to actually feel that emotion. And these are just some of the hundreds of thousands of emotions you'll find in the final game. Whereas many video games are content to offer you a finite number of things to do, the Stanley Parable is breaking ground by allowing the player to do literally anything. Let's look at an example. In this scenario, the player has just infused a bicycle with the soul of his great-great-great-uncle Hermophrides. From this point, he might use Hermophrides' ethereal presence to detect nearby mineral deposits, or perhaps he might train the bicycle in the art of undoing temporal paradoxes. It seems that the player has chosen to use the haunted bicycle to deceive townsfolk as a part of his snake oil salesman ruse. How bold. Many players may be too logical to appreciate the Stanley Parable. So in the options menu, you'll be able to adjust for your own personal play style. Try playing in Raphael mode for a real challenge. Already since the beginning of this video, rave reviews for the game have been pouring in. John Gamerson writes, "I've played thousands of hours and had my heart touched 176 times so far. It really hurts. How do you turn that off?" While a woman writes, "This place has shoes. I love shoes. Oh my god. Shopping, 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 shopping." Quests will be broken up into... It seems we've just encountered one of the game's anti-piracy measures. At random times, it will crash your computer and start deleting files, just in case you downloaded the game illegally. Well, I suppose this is as good a place as any to stop the demo. I hope I've given you something to look forward to, and I certainly hope we can continue to look to Raphael as a messiah for narrative progress. I'm upset that he was so annoyed by my first game, since it has always been my intention to become a person of respect, consideration, and unyielding empathy for others. But until I figure out how to do that, I think we should take some time here at the end of the video just to piss him off a bit. Stanley. 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 Stanley.
Nice. That was hilarious. It says, please rate your experience. What an adventure. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you enjoyed that. I had a good time. That was pretty funny. I feel kind of weird after everything that happened. The game has still been black screen ever since we got smashed by the tube things. And the only way to get out is to restart or exit. And at this time, I will choose to exit because I feel like I experienced the game a good amount and I have a routine established of sleeping at around this time. And I know that there are effects of my choices. I could stay up late. I could keep playing this game for 4 hours to do the whole baby quest. But I don't really want to do that. Even if it gives me another couple voice lines. I could play Dota right now. And maybe have a good game or a bad game. But that would adjust my sleep schedule later. And then it would be hard for me to wake up for Raid on Saturday. So I think I'll call it here for a very interesting interactive Philosoclock with Eche Vatum. The philosophy of choice. I hope that you all choose wisely whenever you can. And if you choose unwisely, I hope you learn from it and can adjust. This is a video. And this is real life. And this is video games. Stay safe out there.